Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mimi, and today I am going to create a Barbie doll inspired by the Barbie doll. Can we first talk about the massive success of the Barbie movie this year? I mean, we all knew it had a dedicated fan base, but who could have predicted it would be this big at the box office? It's insane! With such a huge and loyal group of fans for the doll, I had a feeling it would do well, but the level of success it reached is just mind-blowing. Seriously, who saw that coming? As a huge doll fan, I was planning to check out the Barbie movie even if it wasn't popular, but initially I wasn't overly excited about the movie. But let me tell you, my perspective totally shifted, seeing the iconic Barbie looks transformed into these stunning red carpet styles and experiencing the genius marketing campaign that went viral. Seriously, it got me pumped up for the movie. The movie reminded me of my very first Barbie doll. One of my relatives living in the States got me the jewel hair mermaid Barbie doll. The golden costume and that silky flowing hair just took my breath away. I instantly fell in love with her. Now, being a boy, there was this unspoken rule that I shouldn't take the doll out in public, but you know what? I defied that rule and carried her everywhere in my bag. Unfortunately, the heartbreak hit when one day I lost the tail part of her costume. Devastating, right? So for this project, I snagged this made-to-move yoga Barbie doll on sale. And get this, she only set me back around $15, so of course I got myself two. Now let me tell you, I'm always blown away by the level of posability these made-to-move Barbie dolls bring to the table. Their articulation is on a whole other level, making them the absolute best if you're into customizing and want a more realistic doll without breaking the bank. Getting into the nitty-gritty of prepping the doll, first things first. I separated the head and removed the face screening using good old acetone. Now, taking off the doll's head is surprisingly straightforward. I just heated the head up in boiling water until it got nice and soft. And then, well, I basically yanked it off. Easy as that. After admiring the articulation of the doll one last time, I dove into the face-up stage. When it came to the face-up, I was all about giving the classic Barbie look my own spin. You know, the iconic blue eyes, pink lips, rosy cheeks, and that touch of blue eyeshadow. To kick things off, I started with a general blush on the face, setting the canvas if you will. Then, I grabbed a brown watercolor pencil to map out the initial line placements. Like I mentioned in a previous video, doing a doll's face up is a bit of a marathon. It's all about layering colors, tweaking lines, making adjustments upon adjustments until you're satisfied with the result. Now, full disclosure, I'm not the most confident when it comes to drawing eyes symmetrically, so this process took me a lot more time than usual. Once I was happy with the placement of the features, I went in with darker watercolor pencil to define the lines. My phone decided to pull a stunt and stop recording right in the middle of the face-up process. Classic, right? But hey, let me catch you up on what went down. Basically, I spent my time making these tiny adjustments and layering colors using soft pastels. When I felt like the colors weren't building up as I wanted, I went in with the trusty Mr. Super Clear sealant, gave it a good spray, waited for it to dry completely, and then repeated the whole process to get to where we are now. As I wrapped up the face up, the final touches were all about bringing out those intricate details. I'm talking about enhancing the lashes, adding those individual brow hairs, defining the waterline of the eyes, and creating those subtle lip creases. It's these little details that really make the whole face up pop. And here we have the finished face up. I gotta say, I really like how it turned out, but it ended up a bit more exaggerated than I initially planned. So here's the twist. I decided to work on another face up, this time on a different Barbie doll head, just to see which one vibes better with the vision. Let's compare and see which one steals the show. Now check out the one on the left, that's the new face up. What do you guys think? Personally, I'm loving it. It's got this more realistic vibe, and honestly, it's giving me some serious Marilyn Monroe vibes, which is just perfect. Now let's talk fashion. I mean, Barbie has to be drenched in pink, right? That was a no-brainer from the get-go. Now for the style, I had this vision of creating something Barbie would rock if she was strutting down the Met Gala carpet with the theme being all about Barbie. I drew inspiration from iconic movie scenes and some of my absolute favorite fashion collections. When I think pink, one of the first things that pops into my mind is that iconic song Think Pink from the Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire movie Funny Face. This film is an all-time favorite of mine. A story about a smart New Yorker girl discovering fashion and love in Paris. The fashion in this movie? One of the best, if not the best fashion ever seen on the silver screen. Givenchy designed them, for crying out loud. Need I say more? Another big inspiration for this project came from Marilyn Monroe's unforgettable "Diamonds are a girl's best friend" scene in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. I mean, this scene right here? It pretty much cemented Marilyn Monroe's iconic image. When diving into fashion inspo, I couldn't resist checking out Jeremy Scott's Moschino 2015 Spring-Summer Ready-to-Wear collection. I mean, talk about a Barbie dream come true. Those designs transformed the models into real-life Barbies, and it was absolutely incredible. Another gem I drew inspiration from is Chanel's 2005 Fall-Winter Haute Couture collection. The army of Chanel muses struts onto the tiered circular stage, dressed in dramatic black coats, creating a stunning contrast against the pure white space. And then, the big moment arrives. Once all the models are in their designated spots, it's time for the grand reveal. They dramatically open their coats, unveiling these jaw-dropping outfits underneath. It's pure fashion magic. These three looks especially inspired me to create something dramatic in the color scheme of black and pink. Here's the thing, I'm not usually one for sketching out my designs. I usually roll with an image in my head or a silhouette and figure out the details as I go, but for this particular project, I wanted to nail down exactly what I had in mind, so I went ahead and did a quick sketch. Gotta say, it helped me get a clearer picture of what I wanted to create. Let me show you what I whipped up. Now let's break down the design a bit. We're talking a corseted bodice, a show-stopping mermaid skirt with a seriously dramatic train, and we're not holding back on the glam. Bows and crystals everywhere. Let me take you through the process of creating the patterns for this design. First things first, I wrapped the doll's body with cling wrap, then I went in with masking tape, covering up that wrap. On the masking tape, I marked out where the seam lines were going to be. Now comes the delicate part. I carefully cut the masking tape pieces off, making sure not to scratch the body. Once I had them off, I transferred those pieces onto paper. On paper, I modified the pattern pieces to complete the patterns and get to this stage. For fabric, I'm going to use this pink poly satin material. So once I had those pattern pieces, I went ahead and cut them out from the fabric, and then it was time to dive into the sewing. Now, I'll be honest, explaining pattern making and sewing can be a bit tricky for me because, well, I've been at it for so long, it just feels like second nature to me. Hopefully though, as my filming and editing skills improve, I'll be able to create videos that give you a much better sense of the whole process. And here we have it, folks. This is what the skirt looks like after putting together those pattern pieces. Now, we're not done yet. It's time to add some fabulous details and make sure those edges are finished up so we don't have any fraying business going on. And here's the skirt, guys, with those puffy tiers of satin and netting all sewn on. I've gotta say, I'm seriously thrilled with how it's shaping up. Usually sewing something this intricate at such a small scale comes with its fair share of complications, but up until now it's been smooth sailing. Crossing my fingers it stays that way as we continue this journey. So to give those edges a polished finish, I kicked things off by overlocking the hem. Just to be on the safe side, I added some fray check to the edges. You know, just for good measure. Now, for a moment, I considered calling it a day with just the fray check, but you know me, I couldn't resist. I decided to elevate it a bit more by adding some extra details in the form of satin bias binding in black. Now here's a nifty trick for you. Once you've got one side of the bias binding sewn onto the skirt, give it a fold over to the wrong side and secure it in place by stitching in that small space between the skirt and the binding. In the professional world, we call this stitching in the ditch. And the beauty of it? It lets you attach the binding without any visible stitches. Once the attaching the binding was complete, I gave the skirt a good press to make it lay nice and flat. And here we go! Check out the skirt with that added binding detail sewn on. I'm telling you, I'm so glad I went for it. It brings such a nice balance to the overall design. But hold on, there's more. To make sure this skirt holds its shape, I threw in a layer of netting as a petticoat. And of course, I didn't forget about the binding. It's there on the petticoat too. Gotta make sure it looks fabulous even if it peeks out. Now let's talk about bedazzling. This bow-like piece is destined for the bodice, and I've got a whopping 5 packs of 2000 hot fixed crystals ready to go. Now these little beauties come with adhesive that gets activated by heat. But let's be real, working with such tiny crystals can be a real hassle, waiting for the adhesive to melt and then carefully placing them onto the fabric. So, you know what I did? I opted for the trusty glue method instead. Saved me some time and sanity for sure. And now behold, the bedazzling session with this big bow piece that's destined for the back of the dress. I won't lie, it took me a while, but you know what? After I got the hang of the process, it became kind of therapeutic. There's something oddly satisfying about the meticulous work of bedazzling. Whoa, that's a lot of crystals. Oh, and by the way, while I was in the bedazzling zone, I figured, why stop there? I decided to sprinkle some crystals onto the actual skirt piece. I briefly considered leaving the skirt as is, but then it hit me. Since some parts are already heavily bedazzled, having a crystal-free skirt would just look a bit odd. So why not amp up the sparkle all around, right? Now let's talk about the train because I had something special in mind for it. I took this black lace fabric and cut out these intricate motifs. Placing these cutout pieces strategically, I worked out where to position them for that extra touch of elegance. So once I was satisfied with the placement, I dabbed a small amount of glue to hold those lace motifs in place. And then I went in and sewed them on securely. In hindsight, I probably should have done this before attaching the train onto the skirt because let's face it, the skirt got in the way a bit while sewing on the lace motifs. But hey, I was just too eager to see how the skirt looked with its train sewn on. You know what they say, hindsight is always 20/20. Now, as awesome as the train looks, it's not quite done yet. Brace yourselves because I'm taking it up a notch. I'm going to add crystals, but this time, I've got a plan. I'll be creating a dazzling pattern using crystals, sequins, and beads. Get ready for the next level of sparkle. And there you have it, folks, the finished dress, and honestly, I can't believe how amazing it turned out. Now I get it might be a bit extra for some people, but you know what? This is so my style that I couldn't help but fall head over heels in love with it. For the closure, I went with classic hook and eyes, and here's a little twist. Instead of sewing the big bow onto the bodice, I attached it with snap buttons. Now all that's left is the wig. I had this vision of the hair being big and extravagant, something that could match the dress. And then it hit me. The inspiration came in the form of the one and only Dolly Parton and her fabulously big bouffant hairstyle. I may not know a ton about her, to be honest, but I can sure recognize her cultural importance and that iconic image. I mean, let's be real, in this video, she's practically a living, singing Barbie doll, isn't she? I prepared the wig cap off screen and painted it to match the hair color using acrylic paint. So, it took me a bit to find just the right color, but I managed to create hair wefts using some gorgeous golden beige acrylic yarns. After cutting the wefts into smaller pieces, the next step was to get those perfect curls. How, you ask? Well, with the help of a heated chopstick, I shaped the wefts into these beautiful desired curls. Once all the wefts were prepped and good to go, I started gluing them onto the wig cap, beginning from the bottom. As the wefts reached a certain point, I switched things up a bit. I glued some straight hair wefts on the inside of the wig cap along the hairline. Then, the magic happens. I flipped the hair over to create that iconic bump. To fill in the bump, I used some leftover fuzz from making the wefts. After adding a few final touches, the wig is officially done, and I am over the moon with how it turned out. To wrap up the doll, I crafted a lovely pink satin bow for the hair and adorned her with a stunning crystal necklace. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to the finished Barbie-inspired Barbie doll. I hope you've enjoyed this incredible journey with me. From the moment I watched the movie, I couldn't resist the urge to create this amazing doll. Originally, I planned to share it with you before the end of July, but you know how life goes. The good news is the Barbie movie will start streaming from December 15th, so it's perfect timing, right? I have so many exciting projects lined up, and I'm committed to bringing you content regularly next year. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you won't miss any of the upcoming projects. See you soon!
Pattaya.
During the access,
Pattaya.
look out, all the right sides are shown.
Pattaya.